Today, we are going to go on a really interesting trip back in time to investigate a very interesting Roman tradition called Saturnalia. In this video, we will delve into the historical wonders of this ancient holiday, in which slaves became masters for a day each year. This celebration took place in ancient Africa. Now, take a seat, put your feet up, and join me as I reveal the mysteries of Saturnalia. Traveling back in time to ancient Rome, when there were emperors and gladiators and spectacular celebrations, is necessary if we are to have any hope of comprehending the Saturnalia. The festival known as Saturnalia, which was held in honor of Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture and emancipation, was one of the most eagerly anticipated events of the year. This festival, which took place every year from the 17th to the 23rd of December, had its origins deeply ingrained in the Romans' rich agricultural past. The event, which took place on the same day as the winter solstice, was held to celebrate the conclusion of the agricultural year. Saturnalia was a jubilant source of light and hope during the bleak winter months, serving as a joyous beacon of light as the days grew shorter and darker. The festival of Saturnalia was a time for overindulgence, delight, and breaking free from the constraints of societal conventions. The city of Rome was transformed into a multicolored kaleidoscope of revelry during this time period. Let's investigate a few of the fascinating practices and rituals that are associated with this extraordinary holiday. The Saturnalia included a unique role reversal between slaves and their owners, which was one of the most striking parts of the festival. During the occasion, slaves were allowed to temporarily exercise their freedom and were sometimes even given the chance to act as masters for a day. This reversal of roles was a key component of the celebration because it gave the Romans the opportunity to experience a sense of equality and friendship that was unaffected by the class distinctions that existed at the time. The ancient Roman festival of Saturnalia, which took place from the 17th to the 23rd of December, was a time marked by massive amounts of revelry and joy. The Romans held the festival in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, liberation, and time. It was a way for them to show their respect for Saturn and ask for his blessings on having a prosperous and abundant year ahead of them. During the festival of Saturnalia, social conventions were momentarily disregarded and usual positions were reversed. Slaves, who were often at the bottom of the social ladder and vulnerable to the whims of their masters, were granted a temporary reprieve from their service. However, this did not free them from their status as slaves. They were given the opportunity to take part in the celebrations on an equal footing with everyone else, and were granted a number of privileges that would have been withheld from them otherwise. During this time period, slaves were allowed to freely traverse the city while clad in the expensive attire that belonged to their masters. They had access to opulent feasts, could indulge in the greatest foods and wines, and were able to participate in a variety of entertaining activities. In addition to this, their masters were required to obey any commands that they issued to them over the period of the festival, and they were given the opportunity to issue these commands. This role reversal was not intended to permanently undermine or threaten the established social order. Rather, it served as a release valve for the tensions that were building up in society at the time. Saturnalia was a festival that provided a cathartic experience for both the people who were enslaved and the people who owned them by giving them the power to rule for a day. Slaves were given a temporary reprieve from the grueling tasks they had to complete every day, while their masters got an understanding of the challenges faced by people they would normally consider to be beneath them. This reversal of roles fostered a sense of brotherhood and solidarity among the residents of Rome, transcending the distinctions of class and status that existed at the time. It fostered a fleeting but powerful sense of equality and social cohesiveness by providing a space for masters and slaves to empathize with one another and gain a mutual knowledge of one another. The Saturnalia ritual of switching roles carried with it some additional symbolic weight. It was a metaphor for the cyclical nature of time and existence. The enslaved were given a brief taste of freedom, and this served as a reflection of the unending cycles of freedom and enslavement that humanity has experienced over the course of history. In addition to this, the temporary promotion of slaves to the position of rulers served as a useful reminder to those in authority of the responsibilities and obligations that they owed to people who were under to their authority. It highlighted the significance of treating other people with compassion and respect, despite the fact that one's social standing may differ from that of the other person. As the festival came to an end, the roles restored to their normal states, and the slaves returned to the places of servitude to which they had been assigned. Despite this, the experience of switching roles had a lasting effect, which resulted in a stronger sense of camaraderie and mutual respect between the slaves and their masters for the remainder of the year. The festival of Saturnalia was a time of incredible revelry and feasting. During this celebration, the Romans did not skimp on spending at all. There were lavish banquets held with a variety of exquisite foods, drinks, and sweets to choose from. As people gave one another presents and expressions of gratitude in the streets, there was much merriment and laughter to be heard. The festival of Saturnalia was a time to express gratitude for the abundant harvest, as well as the gift of life. The Romans were famous for their love of amusement and games, and Saturnalia was no exception to this rule. Competitions, games of chance, and gambling were among activities that took place throughout the event. The noises of fans cheering could be heard throughout the city as gladiatorial contests, chariot races, and theatrical performances took place at various locations across the city. The festival known as Saturnalia was not only about having a good time, it also had profound symbolic and cultural importance. Let's go further into some of the mysteries surrounding this fascinating holiday and see what we can find out. It was believed that Saturnalia was a symbol of the Golden Age, which was a mythological age of abundant harmony and peace. The people of this age had a period of relative tranquility during which all of their requirements were well met. Saturnalia was a festival celebrated by ancient Romans with the intention of gaining Saturn's favor and paving the way for a happy future. The time of Saturnalia during the winter solstice carried with it a spiritual significance as well. It was a symbol of the triumph of light over darkness as well as hope over despair, and it was meant to encourage the Romans to find joy even in the darkest of times. During the celebration, participants lit candles and bonfires to symbolize their aspiration to achieve enlightenment and their determination to prevail over the difficulties of everyday life. Saturnalia helped, in the end, to reinforce the pre-existing social order, despite the fact that it occasionally allowed for brief role reversals. Slaves were given a brief taste of freedom so that they would be reminded of their place in society and the significance of their part in preserving the Roman way of life. This helped the slaves remember the significance of their role. With the passage of time, Saturnalia became increasingly well known, and its effect was felt well beyond the confines of ancient Rome. However, what became of this unique festival? In what ways did it have an impact on the traditions of today? Many historians are of the opinion that the practices and rituals that were observed during Saturnalia were crucial in the development of the present Christmas celebration. Gift-giving, eating, and merrymaking are some of the activities that were originally associated with Saturnalia and have since been incorporated into the Christian festival. Even the date of Christmas, the 25th of December, was deliberately selected to coincide with Saturnalia in order to facilitate a smoother transition for the Romans into Christianity. The legacy of pleasure and joy that Saturnalia left behind may still be felt today in a variety of cultural festivals and celebrations held all over the world. The spirit of Saturnalia continues to live on throughout history, manifesting itself in celebrations as diverse as Carnival in Brazil and Mardi Gras in New Orleans. The fact that its impact has persisted for such a long time is evidence that people all across the world yearn for togetherness, equality, and celebration. The enthralling history of Saturnalia has now been presented to you in its entirety, a celebration that spanned both time and class borders, during which slaves were given the opportunity to become masters for a day and the joys of life were honored. We sincerely hope that your trip back in time to the intriguing world of ancient Rome was enjoyable for you. It is important to keep in mind that customs such as Saturnalia serve as a reminder of the significance of coming together, embracing joy in the face of tragedy, and finding hope even in the most hopeless of situations. If you found this video amusing, we would really appreciate it if you would consider giving it a like, spreading the word about it, and subscribing to our channel so that you can see additional fascinating explorations of the past in the future. As is your custom, I would appreciate it if you would share your ideas and observations in the comments box below. Keep your fearless spirit alive until the next time we see each other. Keep your sense of wonder, celebrate in style, and smile till we meet again. Goodbye.